What is up, YouTube family and friends? Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. Diving back into the Buggy build, have made some solid progress. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna very quickly catch you guys and get you guys up to speed with where I'm at right now and what I've kind of been doing since my last video and today. And then in the rest of today's video, we are going to get this Turbo 400 transmission top mounted using Busted Knuckle Off-Roads Turbo 400 to Atlas top mount transmission adapter. So without further ado, let's dive in and get to the good stuff. In the last video, I got the transmission cross member put in, I got the transfer case or the rear cross member put in, as well as the two rails. Now, what I have done since then is added a bunch of tie-in supports. So these are gonna be sort of the cross tubes that kind of run front to back on each side, as well as top to bottom to tie in those particular tube sections. I was able to kind of get everything dialed in. Motor mounts are kind of all dialed in as far as the front ones go. So once I can get this transmission mounted, then this thing, as far as the drive line goes, will be in its forever rightful home, even though it pretty much is already. And that will be a really big step forward in this project. Now, the goal for the evening is to get this transmission mounted. So I don't know if you guys have seen these. They are pretty cool, but right here is Busted Knuckle Off-Roads top mount Turbo 400 to Atlas transmission adapter. So what that allows me to do is it allows me, obviously I'd have to take these out, but it'll allow me to put a plate on the top here, and then I can top mount this transmission in any fashion that I want. Now you can kind of go with their top mount kit that they have, but since every build is different and unique, I am gonna do something a little different and unique myself. So I'm gonna use this tube right here. This is going to be my transmission cross member. As you can see, I've used the TMR mounts, one on each side. So this is fully removable, because if you guys saw in my last video, I want to be able to pull the transmission up out of the top of this sucker, because everything in the bottom is gonna be fully welded in. So this thing needs to come up and out at some point if I ever needed to get this out. And with these lovely U-doors and a motor lift, this thing can come up and out, and I can get that thing right out there with plenty of ease versus having to take the whole engine and drive line out the front there. Same thing for the back. So TMR disconnect there and there. These are the keyed ones, so I can remove that back section of tube, and then the Atlas can either slide out the back, or I can pull the Atlas right out of the top as well, whatever I fancy. So I already started prepping some of the bits that I'm gonna need to top mount the transmission this evening. I'm gonna get those in place. I need to just take a couple of final measurements, just make sure that everything lines up the way that it should. And then hopefully we'll get everything tacked in place this evening, and that will be its forever home. Boop. I've already kind of gotten a few things sort of done. I've gotten my plate that I will be mounting to cut out. I'm gonna add some gusseting on this bad boy eventually, but anyway. This was a fun one. So basically what I ended up doing is I needed to do a 35-degree flat cut to get the angle that I needed for the bushing that I'm gonna install. And that will pretty much center mount there, and I will weld this little guy on, as well as probably do some kind of gusseting on the side of the tube, maybe kind of flare it in a little bit for a little bit of extra support and stability. And then I got my bushing and my mounts dialed in. I'm actually using TMR Customs weld washer for these, just stiffen them up a little bit more, as well as their weld pucks, so I don't melt through the actual bushings when I am welding this bad boy on. But basically the way that this is gonna work, and I have to double check center. I have center marked on this tube here, but you know, measure twice, cut once, or in this case, weld once. That is pretty much, let's definitely not level, but you know, basically that is pretty much how it'll go. So it'll be tabs, bushing, tube, plate, all that's gonna get welded together, and then once that is done, what I will do is I have another plate here that I'm gonna kind of cap this with, leave a little bit of gap between the top of the bushing to just stiffen this up and give this a little bit more support, but that'll allow me to weld the inside and the outside of those tabs, and then I'll put the plate on and I will make my final weld. But that should do the trick. And then like I said, I'll probably do like some kind of gusset on the side of the tube here and the side of the tube here that connects tube to plate, just to give it a little bit extra support. And that should be pretty solid. But that is kind of the idea. I like it. It's nice and low profile, super simple, and I'll be able to finally get this drive line mounted up. This thing is pretty much all tacked in place. The only part I was not able to tack was the back of the plate here, as well as the back of the tube. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to pull this apart. I am going to throw one tack on the back of those on the bench, and then bring it back over here, and then bolt it back up. And then this thing should be pretty good to weld out. I'm probably going to double pass this. So I'll probably do the root pass in what I was using for the filler, so 0.45. And then I'll do the cap in 1/16. And I think that should be pretty dope, because this is 1/4 steel, 1/4 steel. This is 1 3/4 120 wall DOM. So, like I said, should be nice and stout. And then what I want to do is do some kind of like gusseting, kind of like off to the side here a little bit, or like maybe even straight off, still be able to get the bolt and throw a wrench on that. But yeah, anyway, I'm pretty stoked. I think that's gonna work pretty solid for a transmission mount. And you know, once I final weld that and this cross member, man, you know, this drivetrain is pretty much almost ready to rock. So that is dope.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry.
All right, so I got the trans cross member welded in. So I basically did root pass on the whole upper and side section of that cross member, and this guy here. So these guys are done. That is a wrap for the night. Good stopping point for this video. Super happy with how this trans mount turned out. I did my root pass pretty much on everything along this tube, except for the under part in here. I'll do that when I kind of pull the drivetrain out and can rotate the cage a little bit, so I can get to that a lot better. But aside from that, man, definitely really pumped. Kind of been marking everything where I'll root pass. I'll kind of give one little sort of line for the root, and then obviously when I do sort of the cap, I'll put 2 marks just so that I know what needs to get a second pass. But anyway, I think this is pretty sweet. I definitely wanted to top mount this trans for a lot of reasons. The Busted Knuckle mount was probably the best option. I know there's a lot of bottom mount solutions out on there, but man, these rigs, when they like hit the rocks and they get kind of jarred and stuff like that, you know, I've just heard, you know, kind of the horror stories of, you know, people with like cracked transmissions or transfer cases and just funny things like that from bottom mounting them. And then top mounting them is sort of the solution that Busted Knuckle came up with to help eliminate that. Super stoked. Really happy with this. Got a couple of other things on order, which should be arriving in the next week or so. And that actually is going to probably be the next video that you guys will see. Stay tuned, more to come. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video today. If you guys did, definitely smash that thumbs up button, give this video a like. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you guys can follow along. And as always, guys, thanks for stopping by. God bless, and I'll catch you in the next one.